Hi, I'm Allie. Join me as I show you how to do this XO crystal pendant, which can be broken down to a set of earrings made into a bracelet repeated. So make sure to watch the whole video to learn different ways that you can use this fun style. If you need any Montees or seed beads to go along with this design, look below the video in the description. We'll put links there for you to get back to our website and gather up your supplies. Let's get started on this fun project. All right, so we're gonna be doing some right angle weave units in order to create this XO combo. The video doesn't even do it justice here, showing how sparkly and fun it is when you look at it. We're gonna do these as two separate pieces, and then we are going to add them together. You'll notice that the X has a little bit longer of a bottom. I liked the look of that versus the short one with it lined up. I thought it added a little bit of cuteness, but you can certainly make it the way that you want to. We're going real simple with some 8O seed beads for our raw units and then some 11Os to fill in. And we're going with SS16s for our crystal color. And we're working with Montees. So to begin, we are going to start with our interior row and with our O row basically. We're doing right angle weave, but you'll notice here that we're going to have one bead at the bottom, two on the sides consistently the whole way around, and then we're going to have three at the top. What that's going to do is create that curvature because the bottom is shorter than the top. So one for the bottom, two for the sides, three to get ready, three for the top, and two for the sides. I'm going to let that go to the bottom of my size 8 white dragon thread, and I'm going to sew through the bottom and the two sides. So I'm sewing through one bead, then two beads, and I'm going to sew through the top, which is 3 beads. And then I'm going to sew through the side 2 beads and out. All right, now that I've come out the side 2 beads, I'm going to add one bead for the bottom of my next unit, 1, 2 for the right side. Oops. 1, 2, and 3 for the top. And I'm going to take this right side of the last box, those 2 beads, and sew down. From here, we're going to go through our bottom 1 single bead. I know I need to take a rule or a plier and straighten out my needle here. And then I'm going to go up through the 2 side beads. Once again, we're going to go 1, 2, 3 beads for the top. We're going to have 2 beads for our new right side and 1 bead for the bottom. Then we're going into those 2 beads that sit on the right of that right angle unit. The thread's coming out the top. We go into the bottom and we finish that right angle unit. From here, we need to get to the 2 right beads. So we're going to go through the 3 beads along the top. We're going to go down the 2 beads along the right side. And now we're ready to do our next right angle unit. So you can already see that curvature starting to happen. And we're going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 of our units. So I've got 3 here. I'm going to do a total of 10, but I want you to stop after 9 because we're going to make it into a round loop. So go ahead here with 6 more units. All right, so once you have your 9 units there, we're going to connect to make our 10th unit. I'm coming out the right side of unit number 9. I'm going to add 1 bead for the bottom since I'm coming out of the bottom of the thread. I'm going to sew back into the 2 beads that are the right hand side from the first block right there. 3 at the top, 2 on the side. That's how you know it's the 2 there. From here, I'm going to add 3 beads, which of course I need to dump out a couple more of. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to come down the right beads that my thread was coming out of. That creates my last right angle weave unit. And now you have your circle. Now while we're at the bottom, we're going to stay at the bottom. And we are going to add 1 seed bead between each bottom unit. So looking at our sample here, we add 1 between each unit at the bottom. And we add 1 between each unit at the top. Going through the 3 seed beads, add an 8. Starting with the center here, add an 8. Sew through the bottom 8 from the next right angle unit. Closing it up, add an 8, sew through the bottom single from the next one. Add an 8, sew through So obviously you're going to sew through all 10 here of your right angle weave boxes. And then we're going to go up to the top and we are going to sew through all of our top line. And here I notice I did a little error. I have 2 at the top, so I'll correct that. Don't make the same mistake as me. Okay, coming in the bottom here. I'm skipping one of those beads there since it's already there. Bead on, bead through, bead on, bead through. And the last couple, bead on, bead through. All right, now that I'm done the bottom, I'm going to go up to the top. So I'm going over to the next right angle weave unit, having put 1 seed bead between each one of the bottom ones there. Looks like a pretty flower too. Going up here, and we're going to go to the top. Now, remember, just because this is an O for an XO bracelet, you could do so much more with it. Sew through your 3 beads here, add another 8, sew through the next 3 beads along the top. If the 8 gets tight, you can always sew in an 11. Add an 8, sew through the next one. Remember, this is my one that I goofed up and only added 2 beads, so we're going to do 1 and 2 more. Problem solving on the go. And then into 1, 2, 3 beads. Oh, that wasn't my error one. That's my fault. I missed a bead. Okay, I'm going to get my thread loop going out through here. Take my needle off if I need to. Go out through here. All right, so I'm going to put my needle back on. I had missed that bead right there. Add a bead, sew through the 3. Add a bead, sew through those 3. Add a bead, sew through the 3. Add a bead. Go the whole way around to make this a closed wheel. From there, we're going to hop over and we are going to basically embellish our right angle weave rows and add in our Montees. Once our wheel is built, it is time to go in and embellish. So the right angle weave units have 3 at the top, 2 along the sides here, and 1 at the bottom. Coming out the rightmost unit there, so I'm going to turn it this way. Coming out those 3 right beads, I'm going to grab 1 of my 11s, 1 of my Montees. If you've never used them, they have that crisscross back. Another one of the 11s, and I'm going to go down to the bottom middle bead there of the right angle unit. And I'm going to coming out the left at the top, so into the right at the bottom. That brings that Monte right along. Make sure to kind of flip it so that way it sits to the top. Add an 11. Sew through the other side of the Monte since it X's in the back. Give a nice tight pull. Add another 11 and sew through those 3 at the top. When you sew through those 3 at the top again, go ahead over and sew through, coming out the 3rd bead at the top of the next raw unit. So here I am out of beads 1, 2, and 3 there of that raw unit. 11, Monte, 11. Going down to that center bead there, I'm going to sew from right to left. That puts the Monte diagonal on the top. Add an 11. Sew through the back of the Monte. Make sure you get on that. Give a nice tight pull so you don't see any extra thread. Add another 11. And go to the start of those 3 beads that your thread was coming out of and sew on over. Make sure that Monte is front facing and down positioned towards the bottom with no extra thread showing. On to the next one. I'm going to continue doing this the whole way along the piece to get those beads on the outer edge. It's so hard to see with the crystal. I was going to use crystal for this one and thought you can't even see it. So with the crystal and the white, it's a little bit hard to see with that AB. Go ahead around and add in 8 more of your Montees. So as I put on the last 15-0 here of the last Monte, I'm going back through those 3 seed beads. And then I'm going to put the O down. So if you want to, you can make this double-sided and do it as a pretty pendant also. You can do this as a pair of earrings. You can do it as a necklace. Really can use kind of the shape for whatever you want. Actually, Jody that works here said that she would love to make an O for one ear and an X for the other. So you can do that. We're going to move from the O now, just keeping our needle on here, to the X. The X is going to start out with some right angle weave units, and then we're going to add some 11 O's in between instead of our 8s for some of that spacing. Now that we have the O again, we're on to the X. So I'm starting out with a new piece of thread and needle, again, going with this size 8 white dragon thread. And I've put 8 beads onto my bracelet here. I'm going to go back through, or onto my cord rather. I'm going to go back through beads 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. For this one, it's a little bit easier because we're just doing straight right angle weave. We don't need to overthink it. From here, then, what we want to do is build more units. So our X, when I look at it, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 that we're going to build. So we've got 1 on. We're going to add 2 more beads for the bottom, 2 more beads for the right, 2 more beads for the top, and then we're coming back down through the beads our thread is currently coming out of. That's unit number 2 through the bottom, through the right side, and now again on to unit 3. 2 for the top, 2 for the right, 2 for the bottom. Go into the opposite side that your thread is currently coming out of. Don't catch on to the thread of the O. Go through the top, 2 beads, through the right side 2 beads, and continue on. So I've got 3 units. I've got a total of 3 more to go. Just going to do these quickly here. And the nice thing is, because it's 8 O's, it moves really, really fast. If you want to make it smaller, certainly, you can use SS12 Montees and size 11 seed beads. There's no right or wrong size to make this. Once you have, then, here's unit number 5. You can see as I'm working with it, and I work with right angle weave, I turn it in my hand. I find that that's easier to work with. And then back up through. All right, so I did unit number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if you want a true X and not one with a longer tail, you'll only want to do 5. You'll notice that I did not come back down the bottom there, because I need to go back up here to the middle unit here, to one of the 3rd units up. So I'm going to go back through the project, going back through the right angle weave, and I want to come out through one of my side beads of my 3rd unit down. So here I'm coming out the 3rd unit, and what we're going to do is we are going to start to build right angle weave off the side. That way we're going to build 2 units. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beads, again into the rightmost side, through the bottom 2, and over through the right 2. Now we're going to build 1 more unit. So 6 more beads go on, 2 for each side. Go up through the beads we're currently coming out of. And then once again, we're going to back around. So we're not going to continue. We're going back through the right angle unit that's to the left of it, down through the side, because we never want to show our thread. So you don't want to jump from one unit to the other. You want to take your thread and needle right around the sides and make sure that it's connecting. All right, then I'm going to turn it in my hand. So that way I'm building off the right-hand side again. 6 beads go on. Unit number 1 gets built. Go through the bottom 2, and always in right angle weave, coming out the right side of the last box. From here, I need to pour out a couple more, using more beads than you think. And I'm going to go in here, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and we are going to then be done with our cross figure. So that X cross figure here sits at the bottom, and then we're going to attach the 2 together. It works as a little base and kind of a little cuter with that extra line. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go in like we did with the bottom, and we're going to fill in some of the space with some 8 O's, but we're also going to use some of our 11 O's also. So my thread is currently coming out here along the side. And what I'm going to do is get it to the exterior. Along the exterior row, when you're coming out through the bottom or the sides, right there at the tops and the bottoms, I'm going to add just one 11O. Sew through the 2 right side beads, add one 11O. When we get to the middle between the right angle units, go ahead and add one size 8 bead and sew in towards the middle. Now, as we're in the middle here, you're going to add one more size 8 bead, sew through the middle, one more size 8 bead, sew through the next right angle unit. So see how I'm just going right along the line here, just like we did with the circle, but because it was a circle figure, it was curved. Another 8 gets added. You go through those 2 beads. And then once again, when we're in the corner, we're going to switch to an 11. Go through the 2 beads that work as the edge or the corner. Add an 11. And we're going to go through those beads along the bottom. So we've closed in the top. What we're doing is closing in the bottom. Add an 8. Sew through the bottom of those right angle units. Add an 8. Sew through the bottom. Add an 8. Sew through the bottom. And our next one, we add an 8 and we sew through the bottom. All right, now we are done with this one. We're going to do the same thing along the line that goes vertical as well too. So I'm going to take my needle and thread and I'm going to go through this line, kind of like I'm reinforcing all the way in towards the center till I'm coming out through 2 beads there that work from the center row. Turning it on the side, I'm going to sew up through the 2 beads that are going to be the top of that right angle unit. Add one more 8. Connect to the 2 beads that are going to be the top of the next unit there. When I'm at the corner, I'm going to add an 11O and go down through the 2 right sides. When I'm at the corner, I'm going to add an 11O and sew down through the bottom. Closing up the line, then I'm going to add an 8. And here's where it's a little bit tricky because the 8's already there. So I don't need to add an 8 at the middle sections because we already added that 8 as we did our cross. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through the bottom of that box, go through the side of that box, go through, and I'm just going to spin it around those set of 8 beads there that are part of the box. I'm going to go through those 2 that are there. And then I'm going to jump over so I'm at one of the tops of the bottoms there. And now I'm ready to add my beads. Adding an 8 in and sewing along the top. Adding an 8 in, sewing along the top. Once I come out from the top, I'm going to add, I'm going to pull that tight, add an 11O in for the side. And come down. And then I'm going to add an 11 and go into the project as well. So corners get 11s and between the units get 8s. I've got my last 8 to add right there. And then one more 8 to add to finish it up. All right, now my foundation is completely done and it is time to add on my Montees. So we've got our X here that we've built. We've got our O here that we've built. We've already done the Montees. Now it's time to do the Montees in the middle here. When we do the Montees in the middle here, it's the same as we did along the O, but this one's easier. That's why I kept this one for the second. Coming out the 2 beads along the top, you're going to go through the 2 beads along the bottom and just create a nice natural X. I'm going to add a little bit more thread since I started out with a lot less than I needed. And then we're going to get started on that embellishment on top of our X. All right, so I've already added 2 because I thought the camera was rolling, but it wasn't. And I'm going to show you how I added them. It's very simple. Thread coming out through the top of the right side of one of the right angle weave boxes. I'm going to add one of my 11s, one of my Montees, and one more 11. Just like we did on the other one, we're going to go opposite. So it's coming out those 2 beads there of this right angle unit. Through the top, we're going to go into the bottom of the 2 beads that sit directly across that are on the left. We're going to flip that around. On goes an 11. We're going to go through the bead there. And you can see I kind of press the Monte down with my finger to make sure that the glittery side of the crystal side sits up. On goes an 11. And then I'm going to sew back through those 2 beads that my thread was originally coming out of that sit below the Monte. Nice tight pull, and my 3rd Monte is in place. Going through the top then, I'm going to go through the 2 beads of the right angle unit there that sit along the top. And then I'm going to sew down through the right angle unit beads that are on the left side of the current box, which becomes the right side of the new box. And I'm going to continue. 11-0, Monte, 11-0. Coming out the bottom this time of that box, I'm going to go into the top of the box that sits across from it. Fold that over. In goes an 11. Make that Monte cooperate and make sure that it's facing up so you get that crystal sparkle. Add an 11. And come on down those 2 beads. All right, so we've got a total of 4 of our crystals in. This time, because I'm coming out the bottom, I'm going to go along the bottom through the 2 beads that sit below the Monte that are at the bottom of that right angle weave box, and then up through the beads that sit on the right hand side of the other one. I'm going to go in and add the Montes to the last 2, and then I'm going to bring my thread and needle kind of snaking it around through the right angle weave and do the same thing along the sides. All right, we've got all our Montes in now, and it is time to add our X and our O together. So to add our X and our O together, we are just going to do a nice square stitch going between 2 rows of our beads. I want the X bottom long piece to sit at the bottom. If you'd rather it sit at the top, you can certainly put it wherever, but definitely designed it so that it would go and sit at the bottom. I'm coming out the 3rd out of the 3, the middle out of the 3 right angle units at the bottom, and I'm coming out of the last 2 beads. I'm going to go over to my O here, and I'm going to pick where it sits nicely 2 beads along the outer edge here, and I'm going to sew through 2 beads. It really doesn't matter for the O exactly where you're sewing through for this bottom section. Come back on over through to the X. And obviously you can add some things to connect, but I wanted to keep it real simple so it almost looked like these were kind of built together. I'm going to go back through those 2 beads that my thread was coming out of, pulling that close together there, and then you can see, ready, I'm going to pull, and it's going to be really tightly there next to it. I'm going to go back in here, reinforce, going back through those 2 beads, and out. Going back through these 2 beads and out. Oop, not 3, just 2. Come on. And then once it's through those 2 beads, I'm talking to my thread and needle. Once it's through those 2 beads there, we're going to go back into the O, and we're going to travel up the whole way to the O to the next set of 2 beads that sit along the top there, and we're going to join those as well. So these get joined right along the top there in the same fashion. To get my needle and thread up, I'm going to go through the O along the outer edge, since my thread and needle is traveling around the O right now. You could also make a killer bracelet, just alternating the X's and the O's. Going up to the top here. And you also have to think about how you want your, I'm going to get that starter thread out of there, how you want your sides to look. Are you putting it on chain? Are you creating something with it? I did wire guards here with my loops so I can connect to chain. Again, if you want to, you could do an earring. So here at the top, I see my next connection point down through those 2 beads right there. And you can do 1 bead if you like the fit better. You don't need to do 2. I'm at the top right angle unit there, going through that beads along the bottom. Last 2 beads here. And then because I kept the thread and needle on the O, I'm going to use this thread after this connection point to go back to the corner of the X and put on a wire guard. And I'll use the thread that's on the O to go back through the O and go to the corner wire guard. I'm going to come back down the project now along the bottom, just kind of take it to wherever it comes out, that needle. And then I'm going to reverse the thread, go through the right angle weave the opposite way here along that side, because remember they all connect. And as we go through the side there, I'm going to get right to the corner. Once I'm right at the corner there, I'll get ready to put my little wire guard there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the right side bead. So when you're going in with wire guards, let's go over that quick. I'm going to grab my container, get out a wire guard or two. I like the wire guards because it helps to make a pendant like this sit a little bit more correctly. So I'm going to grab my wire guard. Coming out the bead there, it's up to you what you want to do to connect. I'm going to grab one of these pink beads that almost matches my pink bead, my pink crystals. I didn't do anything on the sample piece, but I had these sitting here and I thought those would look cool. I'm going to add one of those beads kind of coming out along the corner there. Go through my wire guard. Pinch that wire guard closed a tiny bit because I don't want it very open. You have a soldered ring or chain, now would be the time to kind of grab that in. I'm going to go through that wire guard, back down, through that 11-0 seed bead. And I'm going to circle around the right angle weave so that way the thread can get reinforced and my wire guard right there is at the top. I'm going to create the wire guard along the top the same way on the opposite side. Going through here, I'm just going to spin back around through the right angle, back through here, and then tie my thread off somewhere in the back, perhaps along that starter thread. Once you get your wire guards on, and you can see here I went a little bit off that corner and a little bit further down. This one I stuck kind of straight to it. I'm just going to take some nice thick jump rings, open them up slightly by turning them to the side, put that onto my wire guard so I can attach whatever I want to there, whether or not it's cord or a beaded style necklace. Open it up here. You can even attach it just directly to a chain, put it through there, close it up. And that creates that little pendant section. Super fun to work with. As I was saying, these would look so cute as a bracelet that you just repeat over and over as well. It'd be a knockout one as you're working with it. So keep that in mind as you're creating. Once your pendant is finished here, you have to decide how to use it. Again, a cute way would be a pair of earrings, actually keeping it separate. I'm going to attach some chain to the end. I went back and forth using some gold rounds and doing a beaded chain as well. There's an option for you. I'm going to do it simply, just stick some chain on. I have my jump rings here that I put on. You're going to simply open those to the side, slide on your chain. If your chain link does not fit in your jump ring, we have some videos that you can check out that I would suggest using some coiled eye pins and making that. I'm just going to attach this to the other side and a lobster clasp, and that's going to fix up this really, really cute XO pendant. Thanks so much for joining me in creating this XO project. It's really fun for the holidays or really any time of the year. There are so many variations that can be done. In the video, I mentioned a bracelet, mentioned earrings, so make sure to share yours in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making and inspire others. You can also do this with other size seed beads and Montees, so I can't wait to see your designs. As always, if you haven't yet, hit that little subscribe button so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for more inspirational designs.